with you, coming to you from the Ritz-Carlton in New Orleans with our very special guest, Ken Burns, who, I mean, every time I look around, you're working on 17 other projects. I mean, seriously, I mean, you just did Prohibition, which to me was absolutely amazing because I have to tell you, I admit how ignorant I was as to how long it lasted. I forgot. I mean, I knew when it ended. I just didn't know didn't know when it started, and then who was behind it, and how strong it really was.
Well, it was a century of lead up to it, a very interesting, kind of the original culture wars in the United States, and the nearly 14 years of its rule was devastating in so many respects. We think of just gangsters and flappers, but there's so much more to the story that for us was new. We don't make films about stuff we know about. We make films about stuff we want to know about, so it was a discovery for us as well.
And a perfect transition for your Ken Burns tours. I mean, when you think about Ken Burns' journeys, to partner with a major tour operator like Talc, to do something about it's one thing to see something on television. It's one thing to see something where you have that distance between you and the television set or the movie theater screen. But what you've done now is you've done something which I'm amazed nobody's done before when you think about it. You've actually said, okay, we're going to take the information here and we're going to bring it up close and personal to people who want to get out on the road and actually go see this stuff with the same kind of perspective.
Well, we recognized each other, Talc and Florentine Films, my company. We were interested in the same sorts of things, excellence, and we had in the course of making our films, whether it was baseball or national parks or jazz or the Civil War, we had seen the inside dimensions of how you got around and who knew where the bodies were buried.
The process.
The process, exactly. And they had the same sort of commitment to excellence that we hoped that we had. And we just thought, this is a perfect way to do it. I had resisted any attempts at commercialization ever. It's the first time we've ever worked with somebody like that. And it's just wonderful because we can sit there and design a tour with their experts and really say, who you should talk to? If you're in New Orleans and you're interested in jazz, you need to go to Bruce Rayburn. He's one of the great scholars. That's because when we were making our series 15 years ago, that's what we did. And this is where this story is told, and this is where this story is told.
What I found interesting about what you did, and I was talking to Peter Talc last night about this, and I said, he's absolutely right. I'm a big fan of light. Okay? You get up early in the morning, right? You want to see the Taj Mahal, you get there at 5 in the morning. You want to see the pyramids, 5 o'clock in the morning. Great Wall of China, 5.
This is a filmmaker's life. This
exactly.
is what we do.
You go for the magic hour.
Exactly. The magic hour is where we live. And so what we're suggesting is to see a tour in a little bit different way.
Get them up early. Get them up early.
Get them up early.
And you know what? They will.
Well, it's all about light. Yeah. It's all about how it falls. And the way memories are created often has to do with light and spectacular. Emily Dickinson used to call sunsets and sunrises the far theatricals of day. We're all interested in seeing that show.
Yeah, exactly. But if you combine that with information and content, it's a home. I hate to use the baseball phrase, but it's a home run.
We hope it is, and it's turned out that way so far. We're very excited.
And you've done what? Over 60 different videotape vignettes.
So Dayton Duncan, who is one of my
he's your partner.
He's one of my principal collaborators for the last several years, and my best friend. We made a lot of film together. He and I have worked with Talc, and we've produced more than 60 vignettes that will be shown in coaches between stops and just sort of set up and tee off experiences. We think that also adds some of our experience of 35 years of making films has also given us a perspective on American history, certainly, but also on how you move through the landscape. Because what's so great in America is that history is always a place. It's always tied to some place in the experience of that place. So maybe you've made your class trip to the nation's capital, but you haven't seen it in the hallowed ground way of how you see the Civil War through the eyes of the United States Capitol and the surrounding area.
Yeah, it's one thing to take the class trip to Washington. It's another thing to be in Arlington at 6 in the morning.
Exactly. And understand, too, that Arlington National Cemetery, our most hallowed ground, was Robert E. Lee's home. And the reason why it's Arlington National Cemetery is the guy who was in charge of burying the Union dead was so angry when his son died that he started burying, having run out of cemetery space, burying Union soldiers in Robert E. Lee's front lawn, knowing full well he would therefore never be able to return home again. And we consider that property our most hallowed ground.
Amazing.
And it's so obvious. It's sitting there in front of you, but you don't always make the connections. And after a while, as working on the Civil War for years, I said, wait a second, this is the most sacred ground in America for sacrifice, and yet the backstory makes it all the more interesting.
And you're also doing this with the national parks.
We do this with the national parks, we do this with jazz, and there's sort of infinite possibilities in all the films that we've worked on.
I've always said that if you understand the process, then you appreciate and value the product.
That's right. Too often a tour is say, look over there, thank you, here's your food, go to bed, and that's it. What we're trying to do is expand that, and Talc has already been doing that for decades and decades and decades, and they are the best in the business, and that's what we hope we are in our stuff. So it was a natural partnership for us.
And the cool thing is, it's just great storytelling.
All of these are great storytelling. A great tour is, of course, great storytelling, and we were just merging our historical storytelling set over the American landscape with their great storytelling, which is how you put together a tour to make that experience memorable and unforgettable.
And that it is. How about that? Perfect timing. The music just kicks right in. Ken Burns' American Journeys, of course, with Talc, and of course, you'll see all of his specials on PBS, and they're great. The most recent one, of course, being Prohibition. And if you want to learn about something that you had no idea about, I don't care what you learned in school, you watch that video. You watch it on PBS. Ken Burns, thanks again.
Thank you.
And we'll be back for more from New Orleans and the Ritz-Carlton right after this.
Thanks, that was great.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Appreciate it.
Great. Sorry we couldn't do more.
No, it's great.
That was great.
Good.